Good evening to everyone. Today we will learn about the challenges in the Indian livestock sector and the suggested interventions, especially from what are all the constraints which are faced by the livestock industries, and also how we can combat all these constraints as per the different statistics and other thing. And once again, as usual, something is also repeated in this class also. So please bear with me. Yeah, as usual, the livestock is an integral part of the Indian agriculture system, and it plays a significant role in nutritional security of the total mass. And the sector employs about 8.8% of the population by providing livelihood support of about 20.6 million people. Then India holds the largest animal husbandry sector in the world itself, and also it gives with 512.06 million livestock heads are concerned. Hence, it is one of the important sector, especially holding about 5.6 million livestock heads. It's not a small thing. Whereas it is a leading milk producers country and which shares about the 18.6% of the total milk which is produced by the world. So if a 100% milk if we get and suppose then especially the total sector contributed is about to 18.6%. India owns as the insignificant, but the thing is only 2.29% of the land area, while sustains the 11.6% of the world's livestock population, and it owns about the 56.7% of the world's buffalo population, means half of the world's buffalo population is in India and top number one. And we have got our best buffalo breeds like Murrah, Surti, etc. So the around 12.5% of the uh, total world's cattle population and 20% of the the small ruminant population is present in India. 20% of the sheep and goat. So the livestock sector contributes 4.5% of the total gross value added GVA and 25.8% in the agriculture GVA. GVA means gross value added. Then India holds the rank in total milk production of 165.4 million tons of the milk production and ranks second in the fish. We rank second in the fish and shrimp production with 107.90 lakh tons and 73 million tons of the production. Hence, both milk and meat and fish, we are leading countries. So this is about a chart which share of the agriculture and allied sector in the GVA percent in the year 2012 to 2016. Then crops, of course, it is highest, followed by the forestry and logging, then third by the livestock. Usually, when compared to this particular uh, crop pattern, the livestock always is the second one. Here you can see, whereas the forest and logging, it's always the third position, whereas the fishing and other thing, it has got the fourth position. Hence, we owe our own resources to the extent of the highest thing. Then, during the last 5 years plans, we have got the annual growth rate. Always it is growing. And if you consider this thing as the milk, the line which is always in the upline, then wool sometimes it fell down, but once again it is going up. Whereas the egg production, it is like a steady state and goes like this. Whereas the meat Sometimes it has declined in the year 2013-14, then increased, and now it is steady. Whereas the milk production is always steady from 2012-13 till 2016 and 17 in the during last 5 year plan. The annual gross growth rate of the livestock product from the year 2012 to 17 is, if you say this thing, then the compound annual growth rate, then this is the axis which contains the milk, egg, and wool. Wool production, of course, it is in the lowest range, whereas the milk production in the medium range, whereas the egg production in highest range, and of course, it has declined in the eighth plan, but in the 12th plan, it is once again picked up its original position. This is the growth rate. Whereas the disease outbreaks in India from January 2016 to December 2016, there is a steady pattern of this disease, especially the number of outbreaks of the anthrax has been reported from 2016 to December 2016, 67 outbreaks of the anthrax, then brucella 4, then foot and mouth highest is there, then glanders and HS, then the NC Newcastle disease, PPR, and rabies. So this is the disease pattern in which the FMD contributes the top one outbreak, whereas followed by the Brucella abortus. Then India holds the rank fifth, especially in egg and meat, with 88.8 million and 7.4 million productions respectively in the world. So uh, especially when coming to the all sectors, milk is the one which is one of the most nutritious thing, and also you can say that the increasing demand for animal products is every day we can see the exponential growth. At the same time, we can get much and more increasing things, especially the average annual growth of this sector, especially the investment sector, is to the extent of 5%. Then always in all the sectors there is a growth. Increasing demand for animal protein is positively affecting the growth rate of further. There are various challenges, of course, in this sector which will come across while achieving the any set target in future also. That's why we need to focus on the challenges and get rid of these particular challenges are concerned. Then the some challenges, of course, they are all global in nature, and we can say that the challenges like the outbreak of diseases in the animals, then antimicrobial resistance is another thing, then the greenhouse effect is also one of the contributing factor, and also sometimes the different diseases in the unorganized sector, maybe like the different patterns like uh, the foot and mouth disease, and also from the different diseases like the uh, and some of the diseases like the reindeer pest has been eradicated from the India, and there are certain non-remunerative milk prices. So this is the one of the biggest criteria, and lack of the manpower and greenhouse gas emission, then antimicrobial resistance, then the unorganized market and highly unreliable market of the livestock products, low per animal productivity, repeat breeding problem, then poor livestock extension activities, and feed and fodder shortage are the specific problems especially happening in India. and we will see how to combat this particular problem with a Indian scenario is concerned. Then, as the challenges and suggested intervention of the outbreaks have been worked in different levels, but once again, we need to work on the different aspects, especially the disease pattern, and at the same time, the challenging livestock growth, and also the especially some of the diseases like the foot and mouth, then the official international death epidemic. Now it has been changed that the OIE is one of the institutes where in which it has listed several animal diseases as prevailing in India, like this is the greatest threat, foot and mouth disease, FMD, then hemorrhagic septicemia caused by Pasteurella multocida, Peste des petites ruminants or PPR in case of the sheep, and also the brucellosis. Then, apart from this one, the anthrax, then rabies, then glanders, then highly pathogenic avian influenza and Newcastle disease. All these diseases are existing in the animal kind and also the bird, and causing a lot of threat to the growth of this animal husbandry sector and also the poultry sector. So the foot and mouth is being controlled to the extent of some percent by the mass vaccination, and a recent outbreak of the lumpy skin disease is one of the greatest tests to the livestock population. And the certain bacterial and viral diseases, especially in case of sheep and goat, like the blue tongue and also PPR, etc. So all these PPR, etc., are also causing lot of damage to the livestock industry is concerned. Hence, and if we come to the poultry industry, the coccidiosis, avian influenza, Newcastle disease, and many more are there, but they are trying to prevent them with effective mass vaccination programs. And during the period, especially the January 2006 to this December 2016, in a 2006, there was a total of 749 outbreaks, and above listed diseases in India like FMD, HS, etc., which maximum outbreaks were especially Newcastle disease in poultry and FMD in livestock, especially in during the year 2016, and the same pattern is present today also. So the economic losses in India due to major livestock diseases are estimated by various economists using different economic models. So the annual economic loss due to foot and mouth disease is 12,000 to 14,000 crores. Is it not? It is not a small amount, especially 12,000 to 14,000 crores. 12,000 to 14,000 crore is not a small amount, and this is a huge amount to the Indian scenario is concerned, and direct loss to the farmers is concerned. Hence, one should be worried about this type of the figures. So, economic loss due to the hemorrhagic septicemia, which is affecting the buffalo, is about 3,700 55 per animal, and if you calculate to the total cattle population, then it is a very high thing. As far as the buffaloes are concerned, it costs about rupees 4,262.57 per buffalo. Then the cattle, it is 5,585 per cattle. So these are some of the estimated losses that are happening due to the livestock diseases like hemorrhagic septicemia, etc. So we are all worried about such a disease pattern, and also we need to think about the prevention and control of many such disorders or the diseases which are present in the livestock industries are concerned. Hence, one need to focus on such diseases which are of great threat to the cattle as well as the economy of the India is concerned. Then coming to the National Animal Disease Reporting System, or what we call as the NADRES. So it is an organization which always stress on the disease status of the national importance. That is the National Disease Control Program. This requires to be strengthened with infrastructural support and digitalization, with the aim that reporting up of the diseases outbreaks can be a real-time basis. And till today, the toxicities of different origin, maybe a plant toxicity, the mycotoxicity, the pesticide toxicity, then certain plant toxicities, and also the herbicide, weedicide, and the rodenticide toxicities are not being reported as in the address system as on today also. Hence, we need to focus on the reporting system. At least the policymakers should understand what is the impact of the individual diseases to the nation's economy. So another intervention can be administration of the vaccination program for all vaccine preventable diseases. So, targeting each susceptible species and adding to this, especially we need to find some remedials, including the viral disease also, like the lumpy skin disease. We need to focus on the therapeutic aspect of such diseases also, at least to prevent the economic loss, even though the animal is not going to die, the secondary infections. And the human resource and infrastructure for veterinary service is also inadequate in India and also in many developing countries. Only 67,784 registered veterinary hospitals. This is this thing in the entire nation, especially 67,784 to the cattle population, very high cattle population are present in India. Then the graduates, number of the graduates are very less, only 67,000 as on the date. And the Veterinary Council of India, etc., they keep such statistics. So we can roll it up to the extent of the 68,000 approximately veterinarians are present throughout the India. It is very very small population when it we compare it to the human medical doctors population. So the number of the veterinary hospitals in India is about 12,300, especially 234. Then veterinary dispensaries are 27,140. Veterinary aid center, that's the primary veterinary care centers, are 25,827 as per the recent data is concerned. And we need to really worry about this particular statistics, as we need to check and measure the system which is very very inefficient to take care of the livestock health. There are only 14 states in India that have more than 200 veterinary hospitals or the polyclinics, at least in the district places. Only 14 states, especially more than 200 veterinary hospitals or the polyclinics. Uttar Pradesh has the largest livestock population, served by only 267 dispensaries. That's a very low number, and many times the quacks treats the animal without any graduates. On the other hand, Gujarat, the 27 million livestock is served by 33 veterinary hospitals only, and that means the large veterinary hospital. There may be a small or other thing, but the where the qualified graduates are existing to the higher extent. So we need to check these type of the systems, and some of the countries, some of the states do give very low response to the livestock sector, even though it's giving lot of inputs to the humankind is concerned. Whereas the Rajasthan, 20% of the veterinary hospitals of all India are located. See, this is once again another statistics. What we say that the Rajasthan, 20% of veterinary hospitals of all of India are located in Rajasthan. It indicates that the infrastructure of veterinary services does not have a precise spatial distribution. That means sometimes it is distributed high and sometimes it is distributed to the very low extent. So the suggested intervention can be a mobile veterinary services for remote areas to provide first aid, artificial insemination, deworming, and vaccination services to the especially uh, the farmer's doorstep is very much required because nowadays the farmers cannot bring a large animal to the nearby hospital. Unlike the earlier stages, about 20 years back, every person we used to bring the uh, precious cattle to the hospital. But nowadays they are in the interest of doorstep services that we need to strengthen a lot. Then there is an utmost need to increase the number of veterinary hospitals in proportions to the livestock population. Actually, there is a lot of shortage, about 5,000 cattle head, there should be a veterinary dispensary, but that ratio has not been maintained. Even though there is a veterinary hospital is located, the qualified veterinarian is not heading such institution. So, the institutional training and short-term skill enhancement courses for the para-vet, they can be engaged as certified livestock service providers. So, strengthening the human resources and increase the coverage of veterinary services delivery at the farmer's doorstep is a very required thing. And apart from this one, antimicrobial resistance is also gaining to the highest because of the improper dosage use and the inadequate therapeutic measures also. So this is a emerging challenge for all the world, not only the India but also all the world. The World Health Organization or the WHO, what we say is says that antimicrobial resistance is the ability of the bacteria, virus, and some parasites to stop the antimicrobials like antimicrobials, biotics, antivirals, and antimalarial from working against those organisms respectively, and antibiotics are used as growth promoters in food animals and to counter the infectious diseases which are occurring due to the food origin. So it's one of the greatest challenge that we need to face it. Then the largest use of the antibiotic is in case of the mastitis. One need to remember that highest use of the antibiotics in case of the mastitis in the animal. India holds rank 4 in antibiotic use. India holds the fourth rank in the antibiotic use in animals, whereas the poultry sector is the largest reservoir of the antibiotics. Poultry sector is the largest reservoir because there is a indiscriminate use of the antibiotic, self prescriptions, and self determination. So the number one is the poultry sector, and the another thing is the animal sector, and we hold rank 4 in antibiotic use in animals, especially in case of the world. So the use of antibiotics in animal feed will increased by 82% in the area, especially in the year 2030. That is the prediction rate is there, especially the use of antimicrobials or antibiotics as feed additives or the growth promoters. Then antibiotics have a withdrawal period during which the livestock producer are used, and it leads to the unintentional consumption of antibiotic residues without any ailment, leading to the development of antimicrobial resistance from these particular animals. And of course, the humans are also contribute to the greatest to the antimicrobial resistance, but at the same time, the animal husbandry sector also going to is also going to a threat in future. And suggested interventions are regulated sale of the antibiotics, means without the prescription of a qualified veterinarian, no farmer or any quack or any unauthorized person who is not holding the degree of BVSC and AH, who has not registered in the respective veterinary councils of the different states, should never prescribe or purchase antibiotics, and they should be sold only on prescription of registered veterinary practice. That's the number one thing can be done to reduce the growing antibacterial resistance. Then capping up of the use of the antibiotics in farm animal at 50 milligram per kilogram of an animal, especially which slaughtered, can cut India's consumption of antibiotics in food by 15% by 2030, especially uh, I do not know which antibiotic they are going to tell about 50 milligram per kilogram, etc. Maybe like the tetracyclines, etc. Then globally, regulatory caps will reduce the consumption of antibiotics by 64%. Then undoubtedly the complete check on the use of the antibiotics is not possible. So it is impossible to check the use of the antibiotics wherever it is required. They need to be used to save the life of the animal, but their judicious use should be always, it should be encouraged. And and there are practices that multiple antibiotics are mixed, and instead of a single antibiotic, multiple antibiotics are used, and this also leads to the drug resistance. So increasing awareness among the stakeholders, especially the farmers, they do not know about the impact of the antibacterial resistance, especially on the future disease, emerging diseases, yeah, new diseases or new bacteria. So instead of that thing, they use the antibiotics indiscriminately. So then sometimes the antibiotics are also administered without proper diagnosis because there is lackage of the laboratory facilities, and even though there is laboratory facilities, they are very costly and unable to be afforded by a common farmer, and this is made as the drug residue testing in livestock products especially. So nobody is giving the attention to such things, and the resistant pattern comes by farm to the human table by the such thing, and the resistance, especially a tablet or pill, is administered to a cattle. Then it goes inside the stomach of a cattle or pig or poultry. Usually these are the three animal. Then there is a resistance of antibiotic, uh, resistant bacteria, then they will spread to the greater extent. Then also the milk, meat, egg, chicken, etc. are being consumed by the humans, of course, sometimes cooked or sometimes uncooked. Then they develop the antibacterial resistance. Then these persons will feel sick, and later there will not be any antibiotic for getting them cured. That's why it is a big threat. Then the greenhouse gas emission is also another concern, but when coming to the benefit and risk ratios, one need to uh, have certain balanced ideas. So methane has a warming potential 20 times higher than that of the carbon dioxide. So the carbon dioxide and methane are called as the greenhouse gases, as everyone knows. What are all the greenhouse gases? The number one is the methane, and followed by the carbon dioxide. So methane has 20 times higher than that of the carbon dioxide. Then enteric methane emissions from Indian livestock contributed about to 15.1% of the total global enteric methane. So India also contribute to the highest. So the enteric methane constant was about 91.8%, 91.8%, especially the enteric methane means the ruminants, while ruminant mastication, etc., they produce about the 91.8% of the global greenhouse gas emission, followed by the manure methane, which is emitted in the dung. It is extending to the extent of 7.0%, and manure nitrous oxide 1.15%. So especially in the year 2010. So the methane gas is 20%, 20 times more than that of the potent than that of the carbon dioxide. Then the Indian livestock contribute about 15% of the total global enteric methane. Then the enteric methane's contribution was 91.8% of the total greenhouse gas emissions, then followed by the manure methane, then also the nitric nitrous oxide in India. So, as far as the India is concerned, cattle ranked first in emitting the enteric methane. Number one, cattle contributing about the 49.1% of the methane. This one, and total enteric methane followed by the buffaloes. So cattle, buffaloes, then the sheep, goat, pigs, all these are going to contribute. So the methane gas is produced by number one cattle, followed by the buffaloes 42.8%, goat 5.38%, and sheep 2.59%, approximately 2.5%, and the other animals, maybe the goat, etc. Then also the other animals like dog, etc. They are going to produce about 0.73%, and cattle being the highest, followed by the buffaloes. So it is anticipated that in the year 2050, enteric methane release about 15.7% of the global enteric methane. 15.7, especially from the Indian scenario is concerned. So this is the because the increased demand of the meat and also dairy products. So everyone is in interest of purchasing the dairy products and also the meat from the small ruminants. So this is greatly contributing to the production of the methane gas and also the greenhouse effect gases. Whereas in case of developing countries, it is high. So greenhouse gas mitigation measures need to be applied in all these countries very properly by certain measures, especially in case of the different countries. Then, Indian livestock sector can potentially contribute to the surge in the surface of temperature, especially the Earth's temperature or the global warming, to the extent of 0.69 mil Kelvin over a 20-year time period, which is roughly about 14% of the total increase by the global livestock. So it is highest. The negative impact of the global warming due to livestock emission is not restricted to India, but it's a universe wherever the animals are there. Not only the domestic cattle, but also the wild cattle or the wild ruminants also serve or add up to the methane gas is concerned. India leads livestock dominance countries such as the Brazil is number this one, then China and US with a livestock population more than 500 million heads. It stands number one in the globe. Then the cattle and buffaloes are the major source of the methane emission, especially in case of India is concerned. Then it is accounting for 98% already, and the remaining is contributed by the sheep or goat. So the livestock population is growing, hence there is a risk of the management of this greenhouse effect through improved livestock productivity, population stabilization, better feed and manure use could be reduced methane level. But when compared to the other emissions, the cattle emit very less greenhouse gas, but even then we need to reduce it. So other possible interventions can be use of the feed supplements for the animals, feed treatment of the poor quality refuges to increase the nutrient content, composition, etc. So uh, we need to generate less and less methane or carbon dioxide to prevent the greenhouse effect. Then galvanizing organic bioagro resources dhan, that's the Gobar Dhan scheme was launched by the government of India under Swachh Bharat program. So please remember this sentence: galvanizing the so galvanizing organic bioagro resources dhan or Gobar Dhan is uh, contributed by government of India especially. So Govardhan is another area in which the India is one of the government of India initiative. So they want to have launched by government of India under Swachh Bharat program. The scheme would focus on managing and converting cattle dung and solid waste in the form of the compost gas, then biogas and bio CNG, because the methane is already used by in the certain industries for reducing the greenhouse effect, a source of income generation also. Then the important thing is, yeah. So then the especially some of the breeds also emit much more methane gas, etc. And the mitigation thing need to be taken care. And breed improvement is one of the important target. Then cattle and buffalo, the production of our cattle and buffalo is half of the world's average. It is necessitates the breed improvement. Breeds mainly can be improved with two methods. One is crossbreeding and other upgrading. There are two methods of breed improvement. One is crossbreeding, which is already being taken place, and the other is especially it's the upgrading of the local cattle. Crossbreeding is one of the uh, important program already being taken, and other thing is the upgrading. Then, but there are many challenges in improving the breeds, like the availability of the elite bull and lack of awareness among the farmers about the scientific breeding practice. That is the constraint. And the artificial insemination is still it is not yet completely adopted, because it has only 24.5% full adoption including the rural stakeholders, and this needs lot of improvement also. Then apart from this one, the another constraint is the total AI centers in India is about 1 lakh 368, out of which 55,547 are owned by the government, while the 44,891 run by non-governmental organizations and also the private players. Till 2016-17, AI coverage was only 35% among the total breedable female cattle. The number of AI during 2016 and 17 was 70,104, whereas the Gujarat was first in the number of AI centers and the number of artificially inseminated animals, whereas the other states were lagging. The total number of the semen stations in India is about 57, and of which only 35 were of the A grade semen station, and remaining all were B or C grades. Possible interventions can be awareness among the farmers about the scientific breeding practices, doorstep AI services, use of progeny tested semen for AI, etc. Then, especially the embryo transfer technology. So, we need to focus much on crossbreeding and upgrading the cattle. Local cattle should be on non-descriptive breed instead of pure indigenous breed. So to repeat again, the focus of crossbreeding and grading up should be on non-descriptive breed instead of pure indigenous breed. So the insemination to be targeted. Whereas the another point where in which we have got the constraint is milk pricing. Of course, in India, there is a reasonable price is there, but the when compared to the production cost, the total cost which is given by the consumer is somehow less per liter of the milk. So the cost of the production of the milk per liter is about 26.76 per liter for non-descriptive milk cow and 23.17 per liter for milk buffalo, whereas it is 19.04 rupees per crossbreeder. So the cost of one need to know this thing. The cost of production of 1 liter of milk, especially in India, for non-descriptive cattle is 26.76%. The buffalo it is 19.4. This is 23.17, whereas the crossbred cow it is 19.4. This means that the non-descriptive cows, the cost of production is high when compared to the crossbred cow. So remember this particular thing. And also buffaloes, it is little high. Then how to increase this milk yield? The NDDB, National Dairy Development Board, they through the several cooperative societies, they are also trying to improve this particular standards. The Karnataka, Haryana, Telangana, and other states are also giving the incentives. In Karnataka, there is about 5%, 5 rupees incentive per liter of the milk, which is produced by a farmer, and it is given from the state exchequer. So, and this is also present in especially Karnataka state, Haryana, then Telangana. They extend the initiative. Other states do not. Then the Indian dairy system is one of the highly unorganized market system because uh, the supply and demand chain do not have any links. But nowadays, the dairy cooperative societies and private dairies they procure only 20% of the total milk produced, whatever it may be, the KMF in Karnataka or the Amul in Gujarat, and many more state-owned cooperative milk societies. They hold only 20% of the milk, while 32% is sold in the unorganized sector or the market. Then, for dairy commercialization, organized markets are very much necessary, and we need to focus on the organized matter, especially organized sector, rather than the unorganized sector. There should be provisions for bulk milk cooling systems, milk collection centers, and transportation facilities, which are made by the government nowadays. So the government has a set target of 50% of the milk to be procured by organized sector, especially in the year up to 2022-23, but it could not do it. Other possible intervention can be the value addition of the livestock producers to increase their shelf life and profit earned also. Then poor livestock extension activities, of course, the extension activity is very, very poor, almost absent, since only 5.1% of the households have access to livestock related information. It is not reaching to the lab to ground level. And there is no exclusive livestock extension program, and most services are animal health focused, not extension focused. So, the possible steps that can be taken in this direction are needs based extension services. Then the sector contributes about 26% of the agriculture, the income, and so that the separate livestock extension cadre is required everywhere. Then another can be the induction of animal husbandry specialists in Krishi Vijnana Kendras like KVK and Agriculture Technology Management Agency or ATMA wherever it is required, and it is being done to the some extent. Then there is should be the use of information and communication tools for informing the dissemination of the livestock farmers and livestock innovation system on the lines of the agriculture innovation system. And livestock extension officers can be used as certified livestock advisors by enhancing their knowledge and the skills. So, livestock development officers and extension officers are always present in the taluk places. They need to be work more for the proper extension activities. So, this is a graph showing the availability of the dry matter in the year 2013 against the projected availability in the year 2030. So here we can see that the source is Indian Council of Agriculture Research or International uh, Food Policy Research Center. So here you can see that crop residues in the year was 356, and it is projected to be increased to 529, whereas the concentrates it is 50, then 83 is anticipated in the year 2030, just another 6 years. Then green grass presently available is 169, then it should be increased to the extent of 220. Then feed and fodder shortage is always there. India is deficit country in dry fodder by 11%, green fodder by 35%, and concentrates 28%. Means this is a very big gap. Whereas in case of the year 2025, the deficit in green fodder and dry fodder will be 65% and 65 and 25% respectively. There is a deficiency always. Only 5% of the crop area is utilized for product production, and we are giving very less importance to the green fodder or the dry fodder production. And there is a need of restructuring of the land use strategy to elevate overall percentage of the cumulative lands for fodder production and to not less than 10%. And according to IGFRI, the estimated population of the livestock will be around 250 SU in the year 2030. It's not far away. So with these feed and fodder resources, we can maintain just 300 adult cattle units as of now, and it's impossible to come up with the growing demand. And there is a urgent need for concrete strategies for continued supply of the feed and fodder, just like the electric grids are being constructed, and one grid can supply to the other grid. Accordingly, the milk grid need to be established, which is having the interconnectivity between the different states where there is a difference between the supply and the demand. And apart from this one, frequently the animal need to be changed. Then balanced feeding has to be done. Then feed with low costs or the supplements. Then byproducts utilization properly. Then crop residues this utilization. Then also the unproductive land need to be used for the fodder. Then azola is another alternative. That's also we need to focus much on the green grass, which is the least important area, and everyone should focus on such unimportant areas. As per the information network of animal productivity and health, enough data, a balanced ration led to the increase in the average daily milk yield from 0.626 kg and milk fat by 0.10%, and feeding cost reduced by rupees 2 rupees 13 paisa per kg of the milk, and the average net daily income of the milk producers will be increased by about 25%. So if it is increased to the extent of 0.26 kg and milk fat by 0.1% per kg. So this is the statistics need to be known by all the aspirants. Then you should not get stuck in the problem itself. You should also come up with the solutions. What may be the solution? That is the hit here. Then, since livestock products are highly perishable, the milk, meat, or whatever it will be, they require immediate processing, then storage, then preservation, then we need to market them very fastly, and compromise with the price also sometimes may be required. That is the demand and supply based. Then on the data-driven world, database management of the insemination, then address of the disposal of male calves is another important thing. And also the sex sorted semens are being given now to the farmers' cattle, this insemination. But this type of the technologies need to be very, very popular. Then insurance coverage to the cattle is also important because suddenly the animal may succumb to certain accident or sometimes the electrocution or sometimes especially there may be the deficiency of disorders, and the owners uh, are not interested or they do not know the calculation of the agriculture profit. What the suggestions say is area specific policy matter should be carried out in different states. Then, especially poultry production, there are certain areas suitable for have been already identified, and there are factories have been set, but not the livestock sector. So the policies related to fisheries and also to the aquaculture need to be uh, especially regulated properly, or else the population of the fish may also may getting zero also. Then Kisan credit card facility should be extended to the livestock farmers. Then Kisan credit cards, optimum usage of the technology for the herd management and genetic improvement should be taught to the farmers, and also the nutritional strategies to be worked out, especially. And also another thing is indigenous cattle should not be diluted with artificial insemination with the pure strain, and only non-descriptive cattle breeds should be targeted for artificial insemination, and no dilution of the pure indigenous breeds. So it has got very high potential. Then another constraint what we need to address is another thing is 2002, about 20 years back, the share of the livestock farm increase income was 4%, which increased by 9% in 2012-13 and reached 13% when the share of cultivation increased by just 1% in this period. So every subsector of the animal husbandry is growing very fastly, around 6% growth annually, considering the immense potential of the livestock, whereas the other sectors are not growing very fastly, and the support of the government is very much required to this sector, as many of the farm holding people in India are totally dependent upon the government for the healthcare systems, then also for the extension education systems and many more. Here, the policy, government's policy always affects directly to the individual households. For example, reduction in the milk price or increase in the feed price, etc. Directly, they hamper the animal husbandry policies, and chances of allied capture of the schemes are rare in the livestock sector, unlike the agriculture. Then, the share in farm income, cultivation farm, it is the highest income, 46%, whereas the livestock growth, it is contributing to the extent of 4%, whereas non-farm business is also going to get about the 11%, and the another thing is 39% of the total milk this money produced will go as the labor cost. And the share in farm income, cultivation, it is the 47% highest. Non-farm activities like the industry, etc., are about 8%. Then wages to the extent of the 32%. And this is the data of about 2012. This may be changed to the little extent to the time. And coming to the conclusion, stakeholders are ultimately admitting the structural shift in the agriculture that has been happening for a decade, and livestock is the new growth dynamo of the agriculture sector, and it is not remaining as the agriculture and allied sector. It is also adding directly to the agriculture sector in the form of the manure, and also very good quality of the milk to the human being in terms of the meat also. So the livestock sector has immense potential in the production, value addition, and export of the dairy, fishery, poultry, and other products. But this need to happen because we do not have the very good quality animals for production of the meat, and also the good type of the poultry with hygienic type of the slaughter, and all these things need to be managed by the government. Apart from performance, some challenges also exist that are posturing and impaired sustained production, and we need to overcome this challenge to ensure nutritional security for the masses and achieving sustainable development of the goals, and augmenting the farmers' income or increasing the farmers' income, and also doubling the farmers' income, and also global market opportunities to be grabbed very properly. So with this, we are going to end the today's session, and